Acts chapter 2. Uh, I, I got started, realized the time was running out, and I had to quit real fast in verse 7 of chapter 2. Utterly amazed. The people who were not in the dwelling where I think it's safe to say the 120, the apostles and the other 110 or so people were, they heard the sound without experiencing the wind, totally got their attention. And in verse 6, when they heard this sound, a crowd came together in bewilderment because each one heard their own language being spoken. These were people from all over the world. We're going to get a slice of some particular places here in a minute. Utterly amazed, not curious, utterly amazed. They asked, aren't I love my allergies. Aren't all these who are speaking Galileans? Then how is it that each of us hears them in our native language? And then here's a listing. I don't even know if this is all of the languages, but I know it's a representative list. Parthians, Medes and Elamites, residents of Mesopotamia, Judea and Cappadocia, Pontus and Asia, Phrygia, Pamphylia, Egypt, and the parts of Libya near Cyrene, visitors from Rome, both Jews and converts to Jerusalem, Cretans and Arabs. We hear them declaring the wonders of God in our own tongues. That is basically a list that represents the entire known world. We don't have anybody from France or Spain or England. As far as it goes, that direction is Rome, but we've got them in, Greece. We've got them in Asia Minor. We've got them in Egypt. All around that crescent. We hear them, what? Declaring the wonders of God in our own tongues, in our own native languages. I can't emphasize how miraculous that is. I want to be careful. I want to tread wisely here, but I have to say I have never had that experience. The closest I've ever come to being in that kind of a what I call it, melting pot of nationalities is in Berlin, where there are more than 71 nationalities represented and more than 71 languages. This is extraordinary, meaning this is not ordinary. This is not normal. In verse 12, it goes on, amazed and perplexed. Oh, we got to go back because I left something out. We hear them declaring the wonders of God. The wonders of God. We're not talking here about doctrine. They were not declaring doctrine. They were declaring the wonders of God. Now, there's two ways that I think at least that could be taken. One is the content of what they were saying was all about the wonders, the miraculous works of God. Okay? Or it could have been that this whole experience is an absolute wonder and it was clearly from God. Okay? Part of the wonder of it, in my opinion, is how it happened, right? Just the event itself. Okay. And here is another miraculous thing of wonder is that the gospel, the good news, what Jesus had accomplished and wanted and was making available to all people, was beyond the wildest dreams and notions of anyone, because everyone now was included. Well, I kind of wish we knew more of the content. We do have the content of what Peter preached and said, but we don't know what the others were saying. But we do know, boy, did it get the attention of these people. Well, some of them, though, this is in verse 13, made fun of them and said, they've had too much wine. Yeah, now that's lame, okay? So here's what's happening. You've got this huge diversity of nationalities. Jews and God-fearing Jews and converts to Judaism. Okay, so we're talking, a convert to Judaism would have been a Gentile who had become a Jew, which was a very detailed process, not to mention painful for men, from literally all over the known world, right? They're all hearing what was being spoken in their own native language. And this is a result of too much wine. They've been drinking this early in the morning. Well, that's just stupid. Well, in verse 14, Peter stood up with the other 11, right? And raised his voice, I think, above the din, and addressed the crowd. Here's what he said. Fellow Jews, and all of you who live in Jerusalem, let me explain this to you. Listen carefully to what I say. It's almost like, read my lips. Pay attention. Don't miss this. These people are not drunk, as you suppose. It's only 9 a.m. No, this is what was spoken by the prophet Joel. In the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Pause. All people. I mean, we read it and go, well, yeah, sure. To a Jew, that was somewhere between ridiculous and offensive as an idea. God's dealings were to be with his people, the Jews. And here Joel says, all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams. Even on my servants, both men and women, I will pour out my spirit in those days, and they will prophesy. Pause again. I wonder, I think it's a legitimate wonder, that this would indicate to me that it wasn't just the men who were speaking, and speaking in languages they had never learned that were not their native language. The men and women will have the Spirit poured out on them in those days, and they will prophesy. To prophesy does not necessarily mean to foretell the truth. It most often and provide this for your amusement. It most often means to tell forth the truth. That's where I place this idea of prophecy. I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and glorious day of the Lord. And everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. If you've got a Bible with footnotes, you know that comes from Joel chapter 2, verses 28 through 32. It would be easy to get hung up on the moon turning to blood and the sun turning dark and all these things in the heavens. That's not the point. It surely wasn't the point on the day of Pentecost. The point was in that last phrase, and everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. I come back to this concept that was a very un-Jewish idea. Only the Jews would be saved because only they were his people. No. Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. Now, when Joel wrote that, this was more than 350 years before Jesus was born. So when it says Lord, we know today that means Jesus, but in his day, an undesignated Messiah. Okay, verse 22. Fellow Israelites, listen to this. Jesus of Nazareth was a man accredited by God to you by miracles and wonders and signs which God did among you through him, as you yourselves know. Now, these remarks were directed mainly at those people who lived in Jerusalem. Those who were there for the feast would have heard them, would have connected dots, but these words were directed at the citizens of Jerusalem who would have seen all the things that he's talking about. Jesus was accredited by God to you, meaning God made it clear that Jesus was not just an outlier. He wasn't just an itinerary rabbi. He wasn't just this weird guy. He was attested by miracles and wonders and signs. What's the purpose of miracles? I believe the purpose of miracles is to alter the natural course of events. Things like healings. If the natural course of events would be the disease would run its course, and in century 1, the end was death. Okay? God intervened. It's a miracle. It's not about an American hockey team beating a Russian hockey team. That's not a miracle. But I believe miracles still occur today. I truly do. And signs, or miracles and wonders, these are things like that day, it made people wonder, what is, and it's not just, what did I just see? It's, what does this mean? That was the question that those who heard the apostles and perhaps the 120 speaking in their native languages, not what is happening, but what does this mean? And then signs. What's the function of a sign? It's to point to something. The signs point to Jesus as who he said he was. Pick it up next time, right here on Soul Care with Stevie Boy.